Okay, so you've probably seen this picture in middle school before, and anytime you have two parallel lines, and those are the parallel markers, either one arrow or two, but the same amount of arrows on both lines, that means they're parallel. You probably have at least 8 angles unless there's another line going through, but of those 8 angles, there's only 2 different measures. There's all of the obtuse ones, and they're all equal, and there's all of the acute ones, and they're all equal. There's only 2 different measures on the entire picture, and they're just repeated each multiple times. If you look at alternate interior angles, you may remember that term before. 3 and 6 are alternate interior because they are on alternate sides of this transversal, and they're on the interior. 4 and 5, they're just the other ones. They are alternate sides and also in the interior, and they will always have the exact same measure. Alternate exterior means almost the same thing except they're on the outsides, above and below, but on alternate sides left and right. Alternate sides left and right. So 1 and 8, and then also 2 and 7 are alternate exterior, and they have the same measure. Corresponding angles are in the same position on one line as they are in the other. For example, angle 1 is on the top left. Angle 5 is on the top left, down here. Angle 2, top right. Angle 6, top right. Angle 3, bottom left. Angle 7, bottom left. Angle 4, bottom right. Angle 8, bottom right. Those are all corresponding angles, and they have the same measure. They're congruent as well. Same side interior angles would be angles that are on the same side, meaning both on the left or both on the right. In this case, 3 and 5 are both on the left and interior, and 4 and 6 are both on the right and in the interior. They are not congruent. They are supplementary and add up to 180. You can tell by looking at them, 3 and 5 are not the same measure. One is small and acute, and one is big and obtuse, so they add up to 180. Same side exterior will be the same exact thing, except on the outsides. So instead of 3 and 5, it would be 1 and 7. And instead of 4 and 6, it would be 2 and 8. Same thing. They are not congruent. 1 and 6 add up to 180. I'm sorry, 1 and 7 add up to 180, and 2 and 8 add up to 180. So make sure you have the vocabulary down and the angle pairs down and whether or not they're congruent or add up to 180. Those are the only 2 things that can happen, either congruent angles or supplementary 180 angles. So in number 3, we add in some algebra. We're calling one angle 5x minus 4. We're calling the other angle 46. Well, they look like alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent. You can almost tell by looking at them. They're both acute, which means they're equal when you have parallel lines. So you're saying that one of them equals the other one. That's how you write the equation, and you go ahead and solve it. On the next one, this time you look at a giant obtuse angle and a tiny acute angle and realize you have same side exterior angles. And from your chart, you'll notice that it's a 180 supplementary situation. So in this case, they don't equal each other like they did here. They add up to each other and equal 180. So one angle plus the other angle equals 180. So in this case, you'll have to combine like terms. 20x and x adds up to 21x. 4 and 50 add up to 54. And then you solve it from there. In question C, it's just like the first one, turned sideways a little bit. You have alternate interior angles. They're both obtuse. You can trace them with your pencil and see they're both obtuse. which means they are congruent to each other. One angle equals the other. Go ahead and solve that. Now on the next page, we have a little bit of review on number 1a here. 67 and y are vertical angles, which means they're exactly the same. So y is also 67. And 113 is a linear pair with both 67 and y, so it's 180 minus 67 is 113 for x. In question B, vertical angles. 3x minus 5 is the same as 127. 3x minus 5 is the same as 127. So you solve for x and get 44. Y is a linear pair with 127, so 180 minus 127 is 43. And in question C, the right angle actually makes it really easy, because if you have one right angle, you really have four. They all have to be 90, because 180 minus 90 is always going to be 90. So y is 90 right away, and 5x minus 15 has to be 90. So 5x minus 15 is 90, and you solve it from there. So in this true-false section down here, 2 through 11, and then this from 7 to 11 is short answer. I gave you a hint on every one of them. To answer the question, this is what you're going to ask yourself, what's written in pink. So pause the video so I don't have to leave it recording. Have this on your screen, and then answer the questions 2 through 11. On page 6, it looks kind of crazy and complicated, but you really just have a pair of parallel lines and then two different transversals coming through. They are completely unrelated, so anything to the left of this over here is all related, and anything over here is related, but nothing's related from left to right. So the red and the green on the left, everything in red or pink is all equal, and everything in green is all equal. They're either vertical or alternate interior or corresponding, etc. And on the right side, anything in purple is the same, and anything in yellow or gold is the same. All right, I'll start you off with the first four here, A, B, C, and D, and explain them. In A, it says angles 1 and 6. So we want to take a look at 1 and 6 over here. Here's 1 and here's 6. We know by the color and the look that they're both acute, so they're equal to each other. But what's their name? They are corresponding angles. One's on the top left, the other one's on the top left. That's the same position, so we call those corresponding angles, and we know that they're congruent. B says 2 and 7. 2 and 7 are on opposite sides of the transversal, one left and one right, so that means alternate, and they're exterior. They're on the roof and below the floor, so they're alternate exterior angles, and since they're both obtuse, they're congruent too. Alternate exterior, congruent. And question C says 16 and 14. 16 and 14. That's over on the other side. This might be easier for you because we talked about it the other day. You have intersecting lines, you have vertical angles across from one another, and they are always the same. They're both obtuse. 16 and 14 are vertical angles that are congruent to one another. And D is 14 and 11. So if you look at 14 and 11, they are on the same side of this transversal. So same side, and they're in the interior. Same side, interior. But if you look at them, one's acute, one's obtuse. So they're supplementary. They're not equal. Same side, interior angles, and they add up to 180. So try the rest, E through J, and we will go over them. Once you get to number 13, it might be a little bit tricky because you have two different transversals. But based on what you're given, and which is just the 110 and the 50, you can figure out angle 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and give me a reason for it. See how far you can get on that.